did a TikTok series called How to Be the Luckiest Woman You Know, and it did well. So I thought, why not put all of that information on a video just all together and do it in a form that I can kind of explain things a little more in depth. I got this concept from the podcast Note to Self with their episode titled the same thing, How to Be the Luckiest Woman You Know. Love that podcast though. I will have it linked down below. The first thing that I kind of want to talk about is our perception of ourselves and the actions we take to match that perception. There are two psychology concepts as like a huge psychology nerd that I love to talk about constantly. And that is one, confirmation bias, and two, self-fulfilling prophecy. Confirmation bias is when you like hear something or you believe something, so you're just more likely to believe it's true. That is a really horrible explanation of it psychologically, actually. I do recommend looking more into it, but that's the easiest way I can explain it to like fit what I'm saying in this video. Self-fulfilling prophecy is what it sounds like. It's when you have a belief about yourself, it is more likely to come true. Now, I'm not even talking about manifestation. That is actually not a huge part of this video. There's a little bit of that in there, but if you're not like a spiritual person, most of this is going to be either science or practice-based, which I guess is like a science in itself. Self-fulfilling prophecy though is, like I said, that idea that like what you believe about yourself is something that is going to come true. So for example, if you believe that you are a reader, you are more likely to pick up a book and read in your spare time. That is like a very basic, simple example, but it can also go on the negative side. If you believe that you are inherently a lazy person, you're more likely to do things and show those traits that go with laziness, because you'll be sitting there and you'll have this decision, you'll have this option of I can get up and do my thing, or I can just sit here and rest. Don't get me wrong, rest is important, but you know, like those situations where you know you should do the thing and you don't really need the rest and you still choose to sit and rest, you're more likely going to choose that if you believe inherently that you are a lazy person. You might sit there and say, I need to go do my homework, but I could also just kind of like sit here and play my video game. I'm kind of a lazy person. I'll just sit and play my video game, because like that's the identity you have of yourself in your head. So the very first step isn't even necessarily to change your own identity. I think you as a person, it's really important to know yourself, but to modify your identity to maybe make negative things a little more positive. For example, we can take our laziness. I'm a lazy person can turn into I'm a person who enjoys my rest, but I get things done when I need to get them done. And before you're like, but I don't. No, you do, I promise. That thing that you did 2 weeks after the due date, you still did. You saw that your grade dropped. You saw that to graduate or to move on to your next class, you needed a better grade, and you did the assignment even if you got half credit on it. I'm a person who enjoys my rest, but I rise to the occasion when needed. It's something as simple as that, just the smallest mindset shift. Another example of this is something that people have talked about quite a bit. I did not come up with this. It's something that people say very, very often is the changing your mindset from, I have to do this, to, wow, I get to do this, and being grateful for the work you get to do. We are going to talk about that a little more later on in the video, so stay tuned because that concept does wrap itself back around. But life is all about switching to a more positive mindset. Truly, like people ask me how I'm so happy. People ask me like how I do all these things, or they assume I've never been through anything because I'm such a happy person. But that's not true. I just have shifted my mindset. How do you make these mindset shifts though? Like how do you actually shift your mindset and you don't just fall back into that habit, that pattern of negative mindsets and negative self-talk? You start to recognize as soon as you have kind of a negative moment in your mind that is directly related to like your identity. Of course, like a negative moment because something bad happened, I'm not going to say like pretend it's positive, like we're not doing that. It's something small, like a part of your identity. Recognize the thought, say wait a second, no, let's shift it. Shift the thought then to the positive. Now in terms of kind of shifting our identity, which is a little deeper than mindset. Of course it's in there, like it's kind of all intertwined. It's kind of hard to talk about it in parts, but for the sake of the video, identity, think about who you want to be. I always see people say like, Write about your dream self. Write about what your dream self would do in their day. Blah, 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 blah. What's your dream day look like? What's your dream wardrobe look like? What's your dream house look like? And even I've said it, and I agree with all that, but I never fully understood how to actually do this and then put those practices into place. You want to think about like the most minuscule habits you do. Say you want to be like that girl. I feel like a lot of people on this page will kind of relate to that because that's like kind of the content I like to make. Say that is like your goal. Say that you feel very aligned with that, and don't do something you don't feel aligned to just because everyone else is doing it. Do it to where it aligns with who you want to be and who your identity is at your core. I have to do some soul searching, but that's okay. Pretend that you really feel aligned with like the that girl identity concept. What you are going to do is think of what you would do, not what someone else would do, what you would do in your ideal version of yourself trying to be that girl. This is hard to give an example of because I do think that you should align this to your own personal values and your own personal sense of self. But I will give an example. I'm not saying that being that girl means you have to do this thing. I have other videos that kind of talk about like ideas, but once again, this is kind of just an idea. Maybe your idea of being that girl is someone who always has a clean environment. Maybe that is like the biggest thing for you. For me, that's a huge thing. This is why it's my example. When you have a night where you're super tired and you just had like a long shift at work and you come home and maybe there are dishes in the sink and you think, I'm gonna just scroll on my phone for like 5 minutes and then go to bed. This is where we are recognizing a habit and we are shifting it to meet our new identity. You go, what would that girl do? To me, being that girl means being clean. So what would I do? What would the ideal version of myself do in this situation? You would put your dishes away or put them in the dishwasher instead of scrolling on your phone for those 5 minutes. And maybe after that, you can even have a little scroll. I'm not even saying like get off of your phone completely. Like I understand, I get it. But you are recognizing and shifting your habits based off your perceived ideal identity. Go ahead, I would do a lot of journaling about it, and I would really try to understand who you want to be and the habits that you want to put in place that can work with things that you already kind of do. You're already gonna do the dishes. It's not like a habit that you're completely changing. Just you're replacing maybe a bad habit with something more productive in the moment, and then you can kind of like switch back later. This is the start of being lucky. You may be saying, Gina, how does this relate to luck whatsoever? Luck is what you make it. Luck is all about how you see life and how you see everything, right? Luck is all about how you experience life and what you deem lucky. Luck is almost an opinion. Shifting your identity to who you want to be will attract more opportunities for you. I'm not even saying in a manifestation way. I'm saying quite literally, it will. If you want to be top of your class and you choose to study more, guess what? You're gonna attract the opportunity to raise your grade and then eventually hit the top of your class. You can't just say, I want to be top of my class and expect it to happen. That's like not how that works. You have to put in the work. But that brings me to the second point. Work does not always equal hard. I hear people equating any type of work with like a negative mindset or a negative outcome or like complaining about something. And I'm not saying we can't complain about our jobs. There's all things that we don't like about our jobs, or not even our jobs, just work we have to do every day in our lives to be a human. We complain about all these things, and in reality it's like, why? Once again, if you have a job you hate, I'm not saying you can't complain about that. I'm not saying you can't complain about maybe having to feel like you're working a little harder. Work in general does not equal hard. It just feels hard sometimes because it usually comes with some form of resistance. I have to study to get an A on this test. I am working and therefore it is harder because I have to study. So now I'm working hard. You might be working hard, but that doesn't mean the studying has to be difficult. Romanticize it. Once again, shift your mindset. I have to do this too. I get to do this. Why are we so afraid of living our life? Why do we feel like we can't sit in discomfort even a little bit? The more you sit in discomfort for small everyday situations like studying, or maybe sitting in traffic, or maybe going to your job a little earlier or staying a little later, depending on what you do. Once again, I'm not talking about people who hate their jobs. I really have to make like that apparent. But people who are in their careers, who like what they do, why are we turning this thing into like, oh, this feels like such hard work? It's not. It's just work. There's just slight resistance because maybe you don't get to do what you want to do right at this very moment. Think of it as like a commercial break. Why are we so afraid of living? Why do we have to numb the experience to get to the weekend or get home so I can sit and scroll on my phone for hours? Why are we doing that? Find the good in your day. Find the good in the work you're doing, and it will make work slowly feel like you're working hard to all of a sudden you are kind of letting up on things, and all of a sudden you are noticing things about your job or your studying or things that you have to do around the house that you actually enjoy. Slowly but surely, or quickly, honestly, it doesn't have to be slow, you will have a day where you go to work, you do the things that you normally have to do that you like kind of complain about or kind of think like, oh, I can't wait till this is over, and you're gonna find out, wow, I'm enjoying myself. Once again, this brings in luck. One, because you're just feeling good. To me, that's what being lucky is. Once again, lucky's kind of an opinion, but that's what being lucky is. You're at a job that you were stressing about getting. You really wanted this job. You prayed for this job. You cried and worked for this job. Then you're going every day and you're sitting and you're complaining about it. No, go and enjoy it. Enjoy the experience, and you will just feel 100 times luckier. You want to love the process of life. Love the journey. Read The Alchemist if you haven't read The Alchemist. It's not always about the destination. It's not always about, if I do this job, I get this paycheck. It's about, wow, I get a paycheck for a job that I actually enjoy. Love the process, love life, love the discomfort, and you will bring in luck like that. Something else I do want to talk about too in attracting luck is defining luck. Like I said, this is an opinion. To define luck, this kind of goes into our identity and our mindset, but really this is all about what everything means to you. To define what lucky means to you, you need to either journal. I'm not even saying necessarily you have to write things out on paper. It's whatever way you conceptualize it. Journal in the way that makes sense to you in your mind. Don't do anything that you feel resistant to. Think about not even what you want, but the feeling that you want to have from the things that you want. So the first step is defining things that you want. I want $1 million. Why do you want $1 million though? This is where it really comes in to what like luck means to you. You don't actually want $1 million. You want the security that $1 million will bring you. You want to feel safe. You want to feel the happiness that maybe $1 million could bring by, you know, giving to others, paying off your mom's mortgage, buying your own home. You want those feelings of joy, of never having to worry, of security. You don't actually want just the paper. You want the value it brings you. Think about those material things that you want and then define the feeling those things will give you. This is how you define your luck. This is how you define the word lucky for you. From here, you are going to start shifting your habits. We once again kind of talked about this in identity. This is all very intertwined, guys. It's kind of hard to compartmentalize all of these things that I'm saying. Define the habits that you need to do to reach that feeling. Don't actually want $1 million. You want a sense of security and safety. So what can you do in the meantime while you're waiting for your $1 million? Because I'm never going to say you can't do something. That is not what we have in our heads here. What can you do in the meantime to feel that sense of safety and security? What can you do along the journey, along the process that we love? The work that isn't hard, the work that is fun, the work that is something that gives us purpose and a goal. What can you do in the meantime? You can save money. I know it sounds as simple as that, and I know it's not. Trust me, I know it's not. Maybe it's doing things like cutting something out, and I'm not even saying cutting something you enjoy out of your life altogether, but maybe you DoorDash once a week, maybe DoorDash every 2 weeks, you know, and save those like $45 that you DoorDash with. Something I just recently did was save $5 every day for a week, so $35. I put $35 in my savings. Is that like a ton? No. Would I have used that $35 to like buy something I don't really need? Probably. I'd probably use it to be like, oh, I'm gonna go out and get a $35 cafe trip with my friend, which is still something you should do and want to do, but it's just like a small example of like a little thing that I might have sacrificed to get that feeling of extra security. Maybe it's not money that you want. Maybe once again, it's TikTok followers. Go ahead and post. Sue me, you know, but you have to post. Do the things that you know will get you towards that goal. I'm not saying go and restructure your daily habits completely. I'm not saying to go and restructure everything you do all the time. Just restructure that area of your life to get that sense, that feeling that you want from that material thing before you even have it. And before you know it, you will have it. Because posting on TikTok is going to get you more followers. And you're gonna realize that these things that you have been like striving for and wanting, I'm not saying you shouldn't want them still. Having goals and having aspirations is so important. But these things you've been striving for and wanting, that's not even necessarily like the whole thing that you want. You wanted those feelings that that idea of that thing gave you. You could have had that all along. And if you enjoy the process, you will have it all along. Like I said, everything kind of wraps around into itself. There's so much more I feel like I can talk about, but we have one section left. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if we like this. We'll see. We'll see. It's a new kind of type of video. I'm like, you know, very casual right now. The last thing is a mantra that I live by. Closed mouths don't get fed. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I'm not saying you have to go make yourself be like super extroverted and super out there, especially for my people who are more introverted. I know how that would be like, no, that will not make me feel good. That won't make me feel lucky. It's not about that necessarily. It's about taking risks, taking chances where you see fit. Now that we have those things defined, those feelings we want defined, go ahead and take the chance. Post the TikTok video, email the brand, negotiate a higher salary, apply for the job. You never know what you can do if you don't at least try. It's also important to remember there is no such thing as rejection. It's all just redirection. Closed mouths don't get fed. Take chances, and this is how you attract those things that make you feel lucky into your life. That is today's video. I know it is kind of just me yapping at you, but I really enjoy this type of talking, this type of video. So I hope you guys do too. Go ahead, make sure to like and subscribe, especially if you're new here. I would love to have you stick around. My TikTok is linked down below along with my other socials. And with that, I will see you guys all in the next one. Okay, bye.